So back on October 15th, Cooler Master launched a case that's really unique and is really aiming at giving the customer some serious versatility when it comes to meeting your needs without you having to buy a whole lot of extra equipment to fitment a case or outfit a case to your needs. So instead, they're trying to give you an option of something you can buy that may fit any possible scenario that you find yourself in at any given time. And that case is the HAF Stacker. Now you guys have been asking me to do a review of the HAF Stacker, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. So this is the way that it ships right here. You get the 915R, and the R stands for rear-mounted PSU. There's also the 915F, which is a front-mounted PSU. And these do also support ITX motherboards in there. We'll get more to that in a minute. And the 935, which is the mid-tower portion. So you do get for one price the top and the bottom piece. Now, we're going to talk real quick about the mid-tower case on this. It's got a huge side panel window that I really like. It shows off everything inside your case. It's smoked. It looks really good. It's pretty rigid, and I have no complaints about that. And all of a sudden, I now have like a runny nose, so bear with me. But when you look at the inside here, you get 6 hard drive cages here, or 2 hard drive cages with 3 hard drive sleds per cage, 3 5¼ drives, an SSD mount on the back of the motherboard tray, and you also have all black sleeved cables here. Now I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the case itself when it comes to the mid-tower or the 915 individually, because this really comes with everything that you would expect from a Cooler Master case. I mean, it's no different. You've got your toolless locks, the sleds, pop out really easily. You just push this button and they come apart, put your hard drive in there, put it in, slides right in. There's really nothing groundbreaking or unique about that. So instead of spending time on that, let's go ahead and talk about what is unique about this case. The fact that it's called the Stacker is just that. You can stack components onto this, or more 915s if you want. You can put one on the bottom or the top. So what we're going to do today, I've got a second 915 right here, and this is a 915F. We're going to go ahead and talk briefly what the differences are between these two cases, and then we're going to show you how they go together and come apart, and then I'm going to throw a bunch of parts in here. We've got some AlphaCool radiators here, we've got 4 hard drives, and we're just going to kind of show you what you can do with this case, and that really the only thing limiting you is your imagination. Okay, so looking at the 915R, which is what comes shipped with the 935, or the Stacker, you have the side panel, and we'll start here. It does have native 3x 120 millimeter mounts or 2x 140 millimeter mounts that are filtered. Unfortunately, the filter is not a pop-out or a magnet. It does have these 4 screws, so it's a little bit difficult to take out if you need, in terms of just, the fans are already mounted, you have to remove the fans. A little bit of a drawback, but hey, it's there. This is also how you would mount your radiator. We'll get to that in a moment. Inside the 915, the one that comes with the Stacker anyway, you have another hard drive cage here with 3 sleds, 5¼ toolless, plenty of options here for routing cables through grommets, a giant grommet here, motherboard cutout on the back, I/O shield, and the PSU mounting in the rear. So you could put a second system on top of your main system if you wanted to do like a stream PC or a guest PC or whatever. You can do that with this case. You could also remove these 2 hard drive cages and put them in the top and have a full data bank here, or a NAS setup, or a Litecoining rig, or whatever you want to do with that. Or you could customize this as a water box. So it's very, very customizable. And before we show that off, I just want to show you how simple it is to disassemble this. There are 4 screws in the top here, front and rear. I've already taken those out. You can access the top by simply sliding this really nice meshed top panel here. It's very attractive, which you can see then gives you practically full access, unobstructed access to the top. And if you remove the rear, you get even more access to this box so that you can completely customize this. The front cover literally pops right off, giving you access to the single the single 92 millimeter fan in the front. It's a little bit lacking, but hey, it is pretty small. And then there is the top panel completely gutted. Now, if you're like me and you want to use this as some sort of a rad box, take out the 4 screws that are in here, again, just like the top, screw in the front and the back on each side. Slide this back, pull it up, and it comes right off, exposing the bottom and the top of the 935, which, as you can see, also supports 3 times 120 millimeter fans or 2 times 140 millimeter fans. So that's really cool there. Now, what if you want to put this on the bottom? Well, no different than the way the feet or the bottom comes off or the top comes off of the 915. You have 4 screws on the bottom. You guessed it. The feet slide right off. You can put them on the bottom of this one here, which essentially in the end ends up looking like this guy here, which has the feet on there already, as you can see. Now let's go ahead and real briefly talk about the difference about the 915F, which is, as you can tell by the model number there, a front-mounted power supply unit for a micro ITX build, or mini ITX build. I keep saying micro, mini ITX build. You've got an extension cable here so that your power supply cable can run to the rear of the case. So that's the way they come apart. That's the way that they mount. Oh, and also too, the 915F does have the USB 3.0 audio input and output and power switch on there, whereas the 915R that comes with the case, as you can see right here, does not. Because this comes with the case, you already have those buttons on the case, there you go. So when it comes to applications, what can you do with this? Why would you want this? And why would you almost knock it off the desk like I just did? Well, maybe you're the kind of person that thinks more is more. Maybe you want to have all kinds of hard drives in the top, water cooling setup in the bottom, and a nice clean build in the middle. Maybe you want to stack these all the way to the ceiling, because you could continue to stack these infinitely, kind of like the Tower of Babel, I guess, if you're biblical. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and outfit this kind of with some uniqueness, and we'll come back and we'll take a look at what I did, why I did it, and it's just an example of what you could do with a versatile case like this. Okay, so here we go. This is kind of an extreme build out, if you will. We've got a lot going on here. We took the extra 915, we stuck it up on top, and we put all of the hard drive cages here in the top, giving us a total of 9 hard drives that we could potentially have up here, including a 10th that could be mounted here in the 5 1/4 drive. So you have like an entire data rack going on up here in the top for all your RAID setups and things if you need that much data storage. In the middle here, we've got nice open airflow. I've even mounted a 240 millimeter rad right here in the front. Got a reservoir here, full-size ATX board could go there, and power supply could still stay right here in the middle. Now on the bottom, I opted to turn it into a water box for a radiator. But there's a couple of things I want to show you. One, when it comes to radiator support, you can see we could fit a 240 in the front, as well as 2 360s in the bottom, giving us a lot of surface area for water cooling. Now it mounts to the side panel here, which I'm not a fan of. I'm honestly not a fan of the way that that mounts, but it is doable where you could put the rad box all together first and then put the top piece on. Otherwise, you have no way of getting in there to hook up all of your hoses and fittings and radiator or the pump and all of that. So I would suggest building the rad box on the bottom first, then putting the piece on top and locking it down. So as you can see here, it mounts right here on this side panel, just like this. So there it is. We've got the 360 millimeter rad, and we've got 3 Alpha Cool fans on there. But what I want to show you is that this case also offers something to modders. If you're a modder and you like to modify cases, and if you're like me, you want the most radiator space that you can get, you probably would be disappointed that this does not natively support 480 millimeter rads. However, with minimal modding effort, you could fit a 480 millimeter in the bottom. I mean, if you look, I have one sitting down in here right now. And as you can see, there is more than enough room for a 480 millimeter rad in the bottom, as well as having room for your end tanks and your fittings in there. In fact, you have room for 2 of them. But what's going to be required to do that is you're going to have to get yourself one of those radiator mounts. They're just like an L-shaped bracket, radiator mounts to that, and you screw it to the bottom, and you can fit a 480 in there with no problem. You would want to enlarge the hole, though. You would want to take this to a machine shop or something and get this hole opened up, maybe put a nice billet cover on there. Otherwise, you're going to restrict the airflow just because of the opening limitation to this. But that, if you're a case modder, is a very simple, very easy, and cheap mod to do. So I just wanted to show you that you could natively do 2 360 rads in the bottom with the 240 in the front. You could technically, if you have the extra 915, do 4, you can do 4 360 millimeter rads, 2 in the top, 2 in the bottom if you wanted. Or if you were me, mod it for 2 480 millimeter rads in the bottom, which would, for me, be the best way to go. This has everything you would expect, plus more. I mean, you have ample room in the back for case wire management. You have a nice thick cutouts right here for your cables to go through, and they even indent it in slightly to give you about a full inch right here for your cables to run through. It has a native SSD mount on the back of the motherboard, 140 millimeter fan included. Does not come with any front fans on there, which I kind of found surprising, but you can put 2 120 millimeter fans in there. Accessories, let's go and talk about that real quick, because you are potentially dealing with a long run from the power supply unit. If it were in the bottom to the top, they include this Sata power adapter that is very long. Now this is an extension from the point at which you could plug it in from the length of your power supply. So you could have like a 10-foot cable if you needed it. And they're already spaced perfectly for the 3 hard drives right there. So you have a nice extension cable, comes with one of those included. All of your mounting hardware here for your hard drives and your motherboard standoffs, as well as your fan screws, some zip ties. But the most important thing is, if you kind of look at the back here, you can see that you have some open holes that wouldn't be used. Now, it does come with one PSU, or power supply unit, block out plate, and it does come with one motherboard I/O shield block out plate, which you could use to plug up those holes. So there it is, guys. The HAF Stacker from Cooler Master. It's a pretty awesome case. In fact, the only thing you're really limited by on this is your imagination. I mean, what would you do with this case? I think it's a really cool design. I like case modding, and this honestly takes a lot of the modding effort out of it. And you have to really try to figure out something to mod on this case, because they've really thought of a lot of it. The only complaint I really have about this case, 2 things. I would love to see 480 millimeter rad support, because you can see the case size supports it. It fits in there. You could easily fit 2 in there. The second thing is, because the grommets are right in the middle right here, your cable management has to come through these grommets. They can't flow behind the motherboard, so you can't go from top to bottom behind the motherboard and hide them away. That's but if you're good with cable management, it may not be that big of a deal. That's honestly all I can come up with that I found to be any sort of a downside to this case. But there it is, guys. HAF Stacker. Tell me what you think about it. What would you do with this case? And for the price that you pay for this case, at the time of recording, $169 for the 935 and the 915R. There it is. I think it's pretty awesome. Tell me what you think. It's been JayzTwoCents. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you didn't, hit the dislike button. And of course, I hope you subscribe if you're new to my channel. And as always, I will see you in my next video.